sa DZRH, sa Elizalde.
Forget the past, it's time to mend.
A corporate thing.
So, ang sinasabi ko na lang,
Isang mapayapang hapon Pilipinas, narito ang inyong balerina ng bayan, si Lisa Macuja, na bumabati sa lahat ng nakikinig sa atin sa DZRH at sa lahat ng nanonood ng RHTV, lalong-lalo na sa ating mga kasamahang alagad ng sining at kultura sa buong bansa. Usapang teatro po tayo sa hapong ito at talagang damang-dama pa rin natin kung gaano ka-vibrant at kaaktibo ang ating theater scene sa kasalukuyan. Whether it's a straight play or musical theater, kung local material man o nagmula sa Broadway or the West End, napakaraming pagpipilian ngayon ang ating theater-going public. At ito ay isang napakagandang development, lalo na para sa aming nasa performing arts. Dahil kapag ikaw ay isang performing artist, lalo na sa teatro o sa sayaw, you really need a live theater audience to validate your work. Kung nakikita mo kung may tao sa mga upuan, naririnig mo ang kanilang palakpakan, natatanaw mo ang kanilang mga ngiti. Napakahalaga talaga ng mga yan for artists who perform live on stage. At sa hapong ito, makakasama natin ang isang alagad ng sining na naging bahagi ng mahigit na 70 theater productions sa loob at labas ng Pilipinas. Siguradong marami siyang maibabahaging karanasan sa atin, kaya't samahan ninyo kami sa kalahating oras ng masayang kwentuhan kasama ang tanyag na theater artist na si Ginoong Robbie Guevara.
Si Robbie Guevara ay isang batikang alagad ng sining sa tanghalan at kasalukuyang artistic director ng theater company na Nine Works Theatrical. Nagtapos siya ng kursong Management Economics mula sa Ateneo de Manila University noong 1991. Subalit, mas pinili niyang sundin ang tawag ng entablado. Malaking bahagi ng kanyang karanasan bilang aktor ay nahasa sa ilalim ng yumaong direktor na si Zenaida Amador sa Repertory Philippines, kung saan gumanap siya sa productions ng Sweeney Todd, Cinderella, The Sound of Music, Man of La Mancha, Wizard of Oz, South Pacific, Jesus Christ Superstar, Once on This Island at napakarami pang iba. Bukod sa Repertory Philippines, nakapagtanghal na rin siya kasama ng ibang theater companies tulad ng Dramatis Personae, Actors Actor Inc., Tanghalang Pilipino, Atlantis Productions, Trumpets at Stages Incorporated. Isang malaking break para kay Robbie nang mapabilang siya sa Manila production ng Miss Saigon at nakasama rin sa UK at Asian tours nito. Mula sa pag-arte, nabigyan siya ng pagkakataon maging direktor at ilan sa mga naging proyekto niya ay ang Sweet Charity, The Wedding Singer, Rent, Songs for a New World, Fiddler on the Roof, A Christmas Carol at I Love You Because. Isang mainit na pagbati ang hatid ng Art2art sa respetadong theater actor, director at producer na si Ginoong Robbie Guevara.
Kasama po natin ang batikang theater artist at ngayon ay artistic director ng Nine Works Theatrical na si Robbie Guevara. Good afternoon, Robbie!
Good afternoon, Lisa.
And welcome to Art2art.
Thank you for having me here.
Matagal na tayong magkakilala. Kaya
Long,
lahat
long
ng
time.
sagot mo dito sa mga tanong na ito, alam ko na. Pero wala kang pinagbago, Robbie. Medyo ano lang.
Medyo nawala.
Oo, nawala. Nawala yung ano.
Nawala yung buhok.
Okay. So, Robbie, it's your first time in Art2art.
Yes,
Yes.
it is.
So,
And, it's
relax.
okay.
Ano lang tayo. It's just an artist talking to another artist. Okay.
It's a small artist talking to a world-renowned artist.
Sega, Robbie, magbalik tanaw tayo.
Okay.
Ano ang unang nakaakit sa'yo na pumasok sa
Theater?
teatro?
Actually, high school pa lang. Napahilig na ako. Sa Ateneo, where I studied, there's a group called Dulaang Sibol. And my cousin was a part of it. And napanood ko siya. And I said, Actually, naiinggit ako. So, a few months later, nag-audition ako. Tapos, they got me. And then, that's what started me. Pero hindi ko naman inakala na yun yung magiging career ko after. Kasi I come from a business heavy family. And I thought that would be where I would end up. Pero as fate would have it, na pasali ako accidentally sa Repertory Philippines. And
This was, pagkatapos na ng graduation?
hindi. I was third year college.
Third year college ka?
Yeah.
Okay.
How I joined rep. It's-
Paano ka napasali? Nag-audition ka, syempre.
It wasn't a formal audition. May sinamahan akong two friends who wanted to buy tickets for the upcoming season ng rep. Sinamahan ko lang. I had seen 2 to 3 shows of rep when I was grade school. So sinamahan ko sila. Tapos, nung nasa elevator na kami palabas, may humabol. Her name is Bernie Cortez. And she said na they were going to do a new musical called La Cage Fall. And they needed extras or walk-on chorus members if we were interested in auditioning. So, binigyan kami ng script. Nagbasa kami lahat. Kami tatlo. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call na bumalik for a reading of another play called Arsenic and Old Lace. So, nag-attend ako ng reading. Tapos, I guess, nagustuhan ako kasi kinuha ko. Pero,
Kinuha ka for Arsenic and
For
Old Lace,
Arsenic and Old
not
Lace.
for La Cage of Fall.
also, pero yung schedule at that time, they would rehearse 8 p.m. till around midnight and I was still a student. So, hindi ko talaga nakayanan. Pero, it was okay naman. I was able to do Arsenic. But during the run of Arsenic and Old Lace, doon ko lang nalaman na hinabol kami ni Bernie sa elevator kasi yung dalawa kong friends, guwapo, tall,
Okay.
model-like. Kaya kami hinabol.
Okay.
Malas lang nila na ako yung natanggap.
Teka muna, so, ang ironic naman nun. Silang dalawa hindi natanggap. And then, silang dalawa hindi na napunta sa teatro? Hindi na?
Hindi. They have their own respective successful careers also.
Okay. So, ikaw ang napadpad
Ako yung napadpad.
sa teatro. Okay. So,
And-
there was no turning back pagkatapos nun?
Well, I did that one play and then I thought, kala ko yun na lang. Pero I came to watch a second play the month after we closed. And doon ako tinanong kung pwede ako magtulong backstage to do stage crew work. And since at that time in school, medyo light yung load ko, I agreed and sige, I'll do whatever. So I actually learned being stage crew as well. And then during that play where I was a stage crew, they invited me to be a part of the chorus of the next play na no speaking lines. They just needed bodies. So it's a walk-on part. And I joined that as well. At the same time, stage crew rin ako doon. So I actually learned the ropes backstage a lot from stage crew. I worked my way up. I learned to do the sounds, the lights.
Okay.
I became an assistant stage manager and I eventually became a stage manager as well. Minsan, kasabay yun of doing a walk-on role or a chorus role.
Okay.
And that happened siguro for like 2 years. Yun, dire-diretso na yun. What happened was, sinadya ko ng i-lighten yung load ko sa school. So instead of spending 4 years in college, I actually ended up spending 5 years and 1 summer. Just so I can accommodate. Because I actually realized na nagustuhan ko na yung atmosphere ng theater.
Yeah.
Pero at that time, hindi ko pa rin iniisip na yun yung magiging career ko. Kasi I was just doing it during
At
college.
that time ba, supportive ang mga magulang mo sa pagpasok mo sa teatro?
Yes, kasi manunod naman sila. Pero yun na nga, I hadn't graduated yet. So as far as I was concerned, after graduating, I'll start working na with my dad. And true enough, on that 5th year of mine, kasi nga technically dapat na-graduate na ako, I started working na with my dad part-time.
Okay.
But I didn't stop doing theater. So I would be in school from 7:30 till 12. I'd work with my dad from 1 to 5. And then I'd go straight to repertory at 6. Traffic wasn't a problem at that time. Not that much. So
Pwede pang maglagari.
Yes. And it wasn't lagari for me. Kasi nga, I was having fun.
Yeah.
I was earning a little more. So that's how it started.
Pero syempre, your years sa Repertory Philippines, it was under the legendary
Tita
Zenaida
Bimot.
Amador.
Yeah,
Oo.
Tita Bimot Amador.
Okay. So I've actually, marami na akong na-interview sa Art2art na actors and actresses na have worked under Tita
And
Bimot.
trained by her.
Trained by her. So ano ang talagang dala mo from Tita Bimot na hanggang ngayon, dala-dala mo pa?
The things that I try to impart kapag nagmamount kami ng show, one, the discipline. Importante. Simple things like arriving on time, starting on time, ending on time, doing your homework. You don't memorize your lines when you get to the rehearsal venue. You memorize it at home. Things like that. Studying your music. Yun yung pinakamahirap sa mga baguhan ngayon eh. Hindi sila sanay sa homework. They think that you do your work at the work venue, which isn't the case. I mean, even in ballet, you take classes outside of your rehearsals. That's one thing I really try to teach my students because I also teach every summer workshops. And that's what I always impart to the newbies in the cast. You have to do your homework. As a matter of fact, medyo reputed na rin na people ask if I'm also a terror, if I get angry. I used to. Age has withered that down. But
Nag-mellow ka na.
Nag-mellow na ako. Pero what gets my goat, if it does, is when I have to repeat myself. I think that's unreasonable. I mean, I think it's justifiable to get mad once in a while if you always have to repeat yourself. Kasi if I have to repeat myself, it's either one, you didn't listen the first time,
Hindi
or
nakikinig, oo.
tanga ka lang talaga.
Okay.
I don't have patience for both. But it hardly happens. It does once in a blue moon. Pero I guess that's also one of the things I learned to kasi I grew up in rep and Tita Bimot had its popular style of being very, very, very stern, very, very strict, and we would get shouted at and all that. And there was a time I did that, and what I realized naman was it doesn't always work. So I found my own way of encouraging my actors to do what I would eventually want them to do. But for me, the most important talaga I learned from her was really the discipline. Respect for other people's time. And I'll never forget what she told us. If you're late, or when you come late, all it says is, my time is important than yours, which is not true. Our times are all as
equally
important. Yeah, and we have to respect that. So that's what I try to, I tell my students, if you don't end up in the theater after this summer, at the very least, you learn to be a better person by just respect.
True.
Yeah.
Okay. So you teach sa summer workshops ng repertory?
Yes, it's called Stage Camp. It's under 9 Works Theatrical.
So talagang nadaanan mo lahat from stage crew member to chorus, walk-on, chorus, tapos actor,
support lead,
supporting, lead, and then directing. Oo. So,
well, assistant directing
assistant
also.
director, tapos director.
Yes.
So out of all of those roles na play mo na, out of all of those job titles.
And now
what's
producer.
your best? Oo. Ano yung ano yung pinaka-enjoy ka?
Right now, the most challenging is being the producer and the director. I don't have as much experience as both compared to my acting. Kasi I had been acting for years. And I'll never let go of acting, I guess. Except that now, pinipili ko na lang yung mga roles na I just don't accept whatever role is offered. It has to be challenging. But right now, I'm enjoying really directing. Producing kasi has a business side to it, which I'm not 100% involved with. I have a partner who handles the business side of things, and I trust him to do. And his job is actually more difficult. There's the marketing, there's the sales, there's the PR.
This is for 9 Works?
This is for 9 Works Theatrical, yes.
Okay.
So in terms of my job as a producer usually is selecting the shows that we're going to do, the casting, and even in the casting, there are a lot of considerations. Who will help sell the show in terms of popularity, things like that. But I'm very fortunate that my team is, we really work together well. We gel. We hardly clash.
Okay.
And so far, so good.
O, sige. We'll seg into Nine Works theatrical's musical play that's opening next week.
Yes.
Pa-plug ko na.
Yes. Thank you.
Next week. February 27 is the press preview. February 28 is opening night. La Cage aux Folles. We'll
Yes.
seg into that. We'll talk about that after the commercial break. But before that, I just want to know more of like you as an artist, as a performer. Like, for example, who's your favorite playwright?
Oh, playwright, well, I'll always love Shakespeare. As nerdy as that sounds, if you're an actor, you'll really, and if you get to know his work, you'll always respect what he's done.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why his name is still around. Another one of my favorite playwrights is Neil Simon. He was actually more popular in the 80s and early to mid 90s. He hardly does work nowadays, but I kind of grew up in theater, reading and actually doing some of his plays. And for me, his writing style, which is so funny, always has this twist in the end that just tugs at the heart. And I'm a sucker for that. I like laughing, but I also like crying. So Neil Simon is probably my favorite contemporary playwright. Musicals, of course, it'll always be Stephen Sondheim. He's my #1 idol. And his latest movie, his latest work, Into the Woods, is now a movie.
Yeah, that's right.
Which I want to enjoy I want to watch a second or third time.
I'm sure 5 times.
Yeah, maybe more. So, yun, those are my favorites.
Okay. And Robbie, kanina, nung ini-intro ko yung program natin, I talked about yung vibrancy and parang ang dami-daming mga theater productions ngayon, ang dami-dami actually theater companies, producing a lot of plays, straight plays, musicals. What can you say about people who say na ang dami-dami and yet talagang naghihingalo pa rin ang theater companies for sponsorship, for support, for the arts. And yet, ang dami-daming mga bagong productions, ang dami-daming mga shows na lumalabas. Parang di ba? Parang, what's this? Oxymoron.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of companies and shows coming up. And yet, naghihirap. I think what's happening is, the size of the pie isn't growing as fast. Ang nangyayari is, mas lumiliit lang yung cuts ng pie. So, we share the same market. We even share the same artists, the same designers, the same stage management teams.
Kaya nga minsan nakakalito na eh. Like halimbawa, pag bibili ako ng tickets, ano to? Nine Works, ano to? Rep, ano to? I mean, ang dami-dami na kasi.
We get calls, do you sell tickets for this and that? No, that's a different company, please. But we tell them naman, please call. We give them the numbers na lang. That's a common thing. I mean, even the rep used to get calls before for some of our shows. And, it's nice naman that they refer the customer back. But yun na nga right now, there's a big percentage of nag-aagawan, especially with sponsorships. As it is, there are very few corporate sponsors willing to support the arts and theater in general. And so, nagkakaagawan. What happens is, the bigger the fish na lang ang usually nanalo, which right now is happening with the imports, because they have grander productions. We still have a colonial mentality of some sort. So they're getting sponsors that we have had a long time trying to get, and yun. But yun na nga, it's not that the pie is getting bigger. It is getting bigger, but not just in increments.
Pero ang nakaka-encourage din is mas dumadami na ang ang mga bumibili ng ticket
Yes.
at pumupunta sa teatro.
Yes,
at tumatangkilik ng teatro.
the audiences are growing.
Yes.
The challenge now is how do we make a particular audience check out
Yeah.
the other productions. Again, that falls on marketing, that
Yeah.
falls on publicity, because they want to watch. Sometimes they just don't know about it. Actually, most of the
true.
time.
Oo.
So, yun yung yun yung biggest challenge talaga.
Oh, sige. So we will invite the audience to La Caja Falls after the breaks. Sa ating pagbabalik, itatanong natin kay Robbie Guevara kung ano ang pinagkakaabalahan nila sa Nine Works Theatrical ngayong buwan ng Pebrero. Dito pa rin sa Art2art, magbabalik po kami pagkatapos ng ilang paalala.
Programang hatid ay sining at kulturang para sa lahat. Magbabalik ang Art2art. Schedule ng mga inaabangang konsyerto. Update sa mga magagandang panoorin sa mga tanghalan at teatro. Narito na ang Art2art Calendar.
Narito ang ating arts calendar. Sa sining biswal, kasalukuyang isinasagawa ang ikapitong solo exhibit ni Francis Nacion, pinamagatang Imahinasyon. Ito'y makikita hanggang February 24 sa Gallery Stephanie na matatagpuan sa Unit 1B, Park Plaza Building, 183 E. Rodriguez Jr. Avenue, Diliman, Quezon City. Tampok ang mga panibagong obra ni Nacion kung saan pinagsama ang art at craft at ang temang folkloric at personal. Ang mga ito'y gumagamit di lamang ng pintura ngunit sinamahan din ng tela, sinulid, alambre at glue. Kasalukuyan namang makikita ang exhibit na pinamagatang Catching Delights, ang three-man show ni na Jeff Baligad, Jomer May Bolesa at Lay Manto II sa Arte Pintura Gallery, Wakwak Road, Mandaluyong City. Tampok ang mga individual at collaborative hybrid paintings ng tatlong pintor gamit ang sari-saring media ayon sa kani-kanilang personal na estilo. Makikita ang exhibit hanggang March 8. Inihahandog ng UP Vargas Museum sa UP Diliman, Quezon City ang photography group exhibition na pinamagatang Unpredictable Unscripted. Ito ay proyekto ng photographer na si Rick Rocamora na siya ring nagsilbing curator ng exhibit. Tampok dito ang tinaguriang street photography kasama ang mga obra ni na Ateneo Santa Ines, JV Mataro, Joel Mataro, Romel Bundalian, Little Wing Luna, Kimpoy Del Prado, Ed De Guzman, Gian James Maagad, Saisa Cruz Bacani, Elpidio Loy Molina, Rick Rocamora at Arthur Quesadas II. Ang Unpredictable, Unscripted ay makikita hanggang February 28. Para sa karagdagang detalye, tumawag sa 928-1927 o mag-email sa vargasmuseum@gmail.com.
Usapang sining at kultura para sa lahat. Kasama ang balerina ng bayan, si Lisa Macuja. Art2art.
Kasama pa rin natin ang actor, director, producer at kasalukuyang artistic director ng Nine Works Theatrical, si Ginoong Robbie Guevara. Okay, so Robbie, what's opening next week? Alam ko na yung sagot eh. Kasi
Alam mo yung
nandiyan yung
sagot?
anak ko, plug,
Plug,
hint,
plug.
hint, yes.
It's a musical called La Caja Falls, which earlier I mentioned. And it just occurred to me that that was the musical that we were asked to be a part of when I first joined theater. It's a musical. It's a three-time Tony Award winning musical for best musical, and it's based on the French play of the same title. And if you're not familiar with it, there was a movie starring Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, and Gene Hackman several years ago
Yeah.
called
Just yung
The
sa mga
Birdcage.
nakikinig na hindi nakakaintindi ng Frances.
Yes.
La Caja Fall means the birdcage.
The Birdcage. That's actually the title, the name of the club where it's set. And in the movie, The Birdcage, I'm not sure if that
Yung
was the
movie
name.
ng Birdcage, hindi siya musical.
Hindi siya musical. It was a straight, but there's also a straight play version kasi of La
I
Caja
see.
Fall.
Okay.
For me, it's one of the funniest plays ever written. It's hilarious because the setting, the main plot alone cannot help but be funny. The conflict arises because the two protagonists is a gay couple called George and Alban. And George has a son called Jean-Michel, who met a girl called Anne, which your daughter, Missy, will be playing.
Yes.
And they want to get married. So as far as George is concerned, okay, you're of age. Good. But the problem is, Anne's parents are very conservative. As a matter of fact, the dad is sort of anti-gay. And that's where the conflict arises. So what do? So Jean-Michel asks George if, one, he can invite his mom back, his biological mom, who he actually has never met, to pose as the parents. Which, of course, George is against because they haven't spoken in decades. And the bigger problem is, what do we do about Alban? Because he raised you. He's actually your mom. And Jean-Michel wants to hide Alban. That's where the painful conflict is. And of course, George is not going to agree with that. So they come up with this device na, okay, he'll still meet the parents as his Uncle Al. Which, of course, Alban, being not the manly man that he is.
Being more of Aunt Al.
Being more of Aunt Al, has a hard time accepting. So that was the initial conflict.
Okay.
The biggest conflict comes when the real mom doesn't show up. And Uncle Al decides to leave and come back as the mom.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah,
and you can already imagine what could happen.
So you are actually producing and directing
Yes.
La Cage aux Folles.
Yes.
Okay.
Under Nine Works
So
Theatrical.
sino-sino pa yung mga kasama ng daughter ko dito sa cast?
Well, our leads are Michael De Mesa, he plays George, and Audie Hamora, who plays Alban. Missy, she has an alternate, Joni Galeste, and Jean-Michel, their fiancé, is played by Steven Silva. And we have, actually, the biggest stars are what we call the Kajels, the dancers of La Cage aux Folles. And we have around 9 of them, all singer-dancers. So they're big stars because La Cage aux Folles is full of production numbers. So they're actually stars on their own right.
So talagang for something like this, talagang dapat magaling kang umarte, magaling kang magsayaw at magaling kang kumanta.
Yes.
It's
It's
tinatawag
very
natin
demanding.
triple threats.
Triple threats,
Yeah.
yes.
Oo.
Which are hard to come by. So there's a lot of training involved. We had 1 month extra rehearsals just for the tap number, which you'll find out is not even a whole number. It's probably like just 5 minutes of tap. But we dedicated that much time
Yeah.
to prepare for it.
Well, you cannot become a dancer overnight.
No, yeah, exactly. But
Okay.
these are dancers, except the tap nga wasn't their forte at
Yeah.
first. Just 1 or 2 of them. There's constant workshops before each rehearsals for the acting. And for the singing, we've had to call back our musical director, Sweet Plantado, to re-educate them on the... Because nga, they're so used to dancing. They're not used to dancing while singing.
Yeah.
So we have to constantly remind them.
Mahirap yun, ah.
Mahirap nga.
Oo.
Mahirap.
Mahirap nga magsalita while dancing.
Yeah.
Singing pa.
Singing pa.
Oo. Okay, so it's opening next week. February
Yes.
27 is the press preview, no? February 28 opening night. And it's running until?
We run until March 29. So it actually runs for 4 weekends, but we're skipping. We run for 2 weekends, then we take a break, and then we run for the last 2 weekends of March
Okay, and it is
in RCBC Plaza at
RCBC
the
Plaza.
Carlos P. Romulo Auditorium.
Okay, and for tickets?
For tickets, you can call us at 0917-554-5560, or you can visit our social network sites. We're at Facebook and YouTube, 9works Theatrical. We're also on Instagram and Twitter, 9WT Online, at 9WT Online. And our website, of course, 9workstheatrical.com.
Okay. And after La Cage aux Folles, what does 9works Theatrical have in mind for the rest of the year?
We want to venture on an original musical. That was one of our goals, which we set 5 years ago.
Okay.
When we started Nine Works, and we're finally going to do it. We workshopped it last summer. It will be workshopped again after La Cage closes, before we open it. Our target right now is August or September. I can't really
Reveal?
what it's
sikreto
about.
pa.
Well,
Sikreto pa yung title? O
sikreto pa yung title.
Okay.
But siguro what I can reveal is we will be using the music of the company.
Of the company?
Yes.
Okay.
So-
Will the company be performing also?
We'll see.
Sikreto talaga.
But they watch the workshop production, and they're involved, especially with the music, because you can't just sing the songs as is. They have to be broken down to help tell the story, or some parts will be reprised, some parts will be mashed up with other songs.
Okay.
They're involved with that,
Okay.
at the very least. It's very exciting.
Wow, that's exciting. No, anything original naman talaga
Yes.
is exciting. No?
It's also
Not saying that restagings are not exciting,
Yeah.
but original is
They're
even
actually
more
also more difficult.
Oo. Mas mahirap talaga.
Mas
Oo.
mahirap talaga.
And mas mahirap ang musical kesa sa straight play, I think, no? As a producer and director, or
Well, one, it's more expensive because there are more rights involved when it comes to musicals. But in terms of challenge, people think that plays aren't as challenging as musicals, but it's actually difficult just to act sometimes. It depends on the show. Like I said, like Shakespeare, for example. People get daunted by Shakespeare, but when you get the hang of it, it's actually easy. But yeah, I mean, musicals have more demands. I mean, you have to sing, you have to dance, and you have to still communicate.
Okay. And as a performer or director or stagehand or a stage manager, most memorable play, most memorable role?
Oh, that I've played?
Yeah.
Engineer, Miss Saigon.
Okay, of course.
Dream role. That was a dream role. But I think the engineer is probably the biggest and most demanding role ever written for an Asian in any musical, because wow, he's
there
on stage
all
like
the time.
80-90% of the time. He's also the reason why there's a conflict. I mean, he's not the cause of the Vietnam War, but in terms of Kim's life and Kim's relationship with Chris, he was in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And
Napanood mo ba yung bagong staging?
not yet.
Ngayon? Hindi pa.
Maybe, hopefully this year, or maybe early next year. But
Miss Saigon.
you did.
Yeah. Oo, I found it, like, bago tayo magkwentuhan. Okay. Sige. So once again, mga kaibigan, ang La Cage of Fall po, magbubukas siya next week. So you can get your tickets at ticketworld.com.ph or call 891-9999. So, Robbie, thank you so much.
Thank you again,
Direct
Lisa.
Robbie. Thank you very much sa
Thank you.
pagdalo mo dito sa aming programa.
Thank you for having me.
And of course, Toy Toy Toy, break
you.
a leg for La Cage of Fall.
Thank you.
And more power to Nine Works Theatrical.
Thank you very much.
Hanggang sa susunod na linggo, samahan ninyo kami ulit dito sa Art2art, kung saan ang usapang sining at kultura ay para sa lahat. Ito po ang inyong balerina ng bayan, Lisa Macuja, nagpupugay sa artistang Pilipino.